Welcome back to another episode of the Man That Can Project podcast. Today, our guest is the young, legendary Jesse O'Sullivan. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
This is our second intro. I just messed up the first one.
That's all right.
But, mate, great to have you. We've just taken our masks off in Brisbane yesterday, 6 a.m.
Pretty good. Not too bad, you know.
Get to see the smile on the show.
Having to wear it all the time.
Yeah. For everyone watching on YouTube, you can see Jesse's smile, whereas maybe we wouldn't have been able to see it.
It's true.
If we did this 2 days ago. But one of the reasons why I really wanted to have you on the show is you've really inspired me. We connected a few months back, or a bit more than a few months back now, through social media. And straight away from our first phone call, one thing that really caught my attention about you was your due diligence. I remember when I was your age, and not saying this is an age thing, this is just, in my opinion, a maturity thing and an awareness thing, is doing the due diligence to find out if something's the right fit for you, and making sure that you understand as much that is available for you before you sort of dive into something. It was an expensive lesson for me until I realized that due diligence was something I should probably prioritize, but you nailed it off the back and you had me excited about that. And hopefully after that phone call, I was like, we'll see if he comes. And then you got involved and here we are.
Yeah. Coffee the next morning after that workshop, and
yeah, that was
off to a flying start.
Bloody epic. So yeah, you came to one of our Strongman of Value workshops and loved it. And then we had coffee the next day, and here we are. You're an inaugural member of I forgot the program. No,
Man That Can Project.
Yeah, the Man That Can, the Inner Circle. But it's been phenomenal watching your growth and your story, mate. But for the audience, give them a bit of a background behind the man that is.
Sweet. All right. So yeah, I am 24 this year. So pretty fresh into adult life and all that kind of stuff, and was a uni student right up until 2019 and everything. I had a few kind of big life changes happen, just in terms of what I was up to. I finished uni and I was like, oh shit, what do I do now? It was kind of just at that turning point in life, and then. Just had like a relationship breakdown, and then COVID kicked in, and like I had all these plans, like I was going to go move to America, and just everything that I tried to do just kind of blew up in my face, and it just didn't really work out too well. And so found myself in a bit of a dump, and wanted to get myself out, because I was treating myself bad, but also treating the people around me pretty poorly as well, and wasn't very proud of that. Then I got to the point where I started seeing a psychologist, and was seeing him for a little bit, and he suggested investing my time into podcasts and that kind of stuff, which is where I found the Man That Can. I found the Man That Can, listened to a bunch of Lockie's podcasts, and I was like, shit, I really resonate with this guy. Like, he's really down to earth, and I kind of have a very similar story. And then during one of his podcasts, I realised he was based in Brizzy, so I ended up hitting up on socials and find out he's got a workshop coming up, and had a good chat on the phone, and just was keen to check it out and see what it was all like, and went to the workshop, and it was like $20 or something like that, and it was just like, I walked out, I was like, mate, this is the best fucking $20 I've ever spent in my life.
Mate, that's so similar to my story as well with that. It's interesting though, you finish uni, and for most people that's supposed to be like when life really starts. You've got the degree and all the I don't know, I thought if I nailed uni, I'd be earning heaps of money and be absolutely crushing it, but it didn't turn out like that.
No, I guess like with uni, I was never too sure during high school and that kind of stuff what I wanted to do. Like, I remember I actually had a chat with my parents at my graduation. I was like, oh shit, I was going to be an electrician. Like, I wanted to follow my dad's footsteps and be an electrician, and I had a bunch of people telling, no, you can do way more than that, you can do more than that. And then I was like, all right, what do I do then? Like, everyone's telling me I got to do more.
It's crazy.
Yeah, the amount of pressure and all that kind of stuff. And like, so I was like, I set my sights on being a physio, and looked at that. And then my guidance officer at school was pretty much said that you're not smart enough to be a physio, so you should probably aim for something else. I was like, oh, fuck you then.
Fucking oath, man.
So that's where I ended up going towards exercise science, and with the intention to transfer to physio after, to try and prove this guidance officer wrong. And I think that's part of my character, is that I like to prove people wrong.
Feels good,
when they're like judgmental and things like that, and
Yep.
you know, and you have a different belief around, you know, what you're capable of. It feels good to be able to prove people wrong when they, you know, depict you as something and you can, you know, throw it in their face kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. I think through that process, because I, for a long period of time, used that as my motivation, and I think I've grown out of that now, but at the start, it got me into action that maybe I wouldn't have taken had I not wanted to prove someone wrong. I probably would just be like, nah, it's all good. I'll settle. But then I think it's healthy to go to a place when it's like, right, well, now I'm just excited to, you know, I know that I can form new habits. I know that I can learn new skills. I know that I can be better than I am today. Not saying that where I am today is poor.
Yeah.
I just want to keep improving. And then it sort of shifts your whole understanding and drive behind why you want to be better.
Exactly.
But let's talk status quickly. That was a good point.
Status.
Yeah, well, you know, I was very similar to you. I didn't ever have the drive to want to do university. I wanted to be an athlete, but then, you know, it was either that, do a trade, or go to university.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do a trade because I thought I was better than that because of the
pressure.
Actually, we can talk about cultural conditioning as well. The pressure, but also the cultural conditioning that, you know, trades are for people who aren't as intelligent and, you know, working class. And I didn't want to, you know, I wanted to be wealthy. I wanted to create a life of choice and freedom. So that sort of steered me away from wanting to do that as well, even though I enjoyed, you know, working with my hands. So do you feel that played a factor in your decision to go into exercise physiology as well?
Yeah. So like, I told everyone like I was really, I would say I was pretty nerdy in school and that kind of stuff, and wasn't really sporty or anything. So being an athlete wasn't an option. And then, but then I felt like I wasn't smart enough to be like a scientist or anything crazy, like, you know, really up there. So, you know, when everyone's like, oh, you got to do more, I was like, fuck, what do I do? So there was definitely heaps of pressure around, you know, going to uni and just forcing me to decide on something. Right then and there. That's something, and then like the way they put the pressure on it was like, this is what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. Like, so choose wisely. You know, like there's just crazy amounts of pressure there. And yeah, so I guess that like those people around me, and I'm really grateful for the fact that they did push me to go to uni, even though it wasn't really like my passion or anything like that. Like exercise wasn't my passion; it was just like an enjoyable thing for me. And yeah, then, you know, going through uni and that kind of stuff, I knew straight away. I was like, oh, I don't want to be an exercise physiologist. Like I don't want to do it. Like I was going to do, like probably like in my like graduating year, I had my sights set on becoming cardio. What do you call it?
Cardiologist?
Cardiologist, a cardiac technician.
Okay.
So testing hearts and that kind of stuff. And like I wanted to really get into like cath labs and stuff.
Yeah.
And that was a passion for me because it was like I've got a lot of family history with cardiac illness and things like that. So for me, I was like, oh, if I can learn as much as I can about this, it's not going to affect me. So that was my passion for that. But then graduating uni, I realized like how flooded the market was for that, how niche it is, and like how flooded the market is. Like any science degree can get into that, and so I was just up against like top dogs. And then COVID hit, and I was just like a lot of self doubt there. That I was like, no, I can't do this.
It's interesting how you said before when you were looking at being a cardiac technician, because there's heart challenges within the family, and you're like, if I can just learn whatever in that field, I'll be awesome, as opposed to the approach and the perspective you take in other things where I say, I'm not smart enough at that, I'll just move to something lower than that. And I think that highlights such an important thing, that it doesn't matter what you score at school or what people perceive you, or even for me, like 7 years ago, I'm a complete dead shit.
Yeah.
But I was just so committed to wanting to change that I've done whatever it took. You know, I've learned to read more, I've started podcasts, I've learned to interview, and all of that has improved my skills, which has improved my self-confidence. And so I think what you highlighted there is that key phrase, that I'm prepared to learn and understand whatever it takes to do that. Doesn't matter how fucking long. You know, a degree, the problem in my opinion with uni is like this has to happen in 4 years. If you don't understand it, you keep failing, move on to something else. It's like life it's short, but it's long at the same time. Like you can learn a lot of information in a short period of time.
I think we're raised with the perception that we have to learn everything at school. Like everything that we go into our life has to be learned at school, and that's the point of school, is that we, you know, once we finish school, we're set for life and we know everything we need to know. But it's complete, like really it should be, you know, teaching you how to learn rather than teaching you specific, like, you know, I don't remember anything from maths. I don't remember anything from English, like Shakespeare, all that shit. I don't remember any of that.
Yeah, fuck no.
But like if they taught more along the lines of, you know, how to continue like growing and learning and that kind of stuff, and just that maturity to understand that, you know, you keep learning until the day you die.
Yeah.
Then like I reckon the world would be a better place if everyone's.
I think that's the only thing we should, you know, unless you specifically need what you learn at school, like, I don't know what you would. Like, there are definitely things, but off the top of my head, I can't think. But the one thing that I think everyone should take away is that you can learn.
Yeah.
Like, what you know in grade 12, you didn't once know.
Yeah.
But through maybe having a mentor, through going to a specific environment like a school or whatever, you can learn.
Yeah, exactly.
So anything that, you know, strikes your interest or, you know, you want to change in your life, you just got to invest the time. Like, it's able to be learned. And some people, like you and I, you know, I would imagine you would learn so much more about what you already know faster than what I would, because you already have a base level of understanding. It doesn't make anyone smarter. I can still catch up should I want to invest the time. But
exactly.
That's where we need to understand priorities and stuff like that.
Well, that's where the concept of, like, you know, people are born genius and people are born, you know, elite athletes and all this kind of stuff. And it's like you just put hours into what you're passionate about and you get better at it.
Yeah. Because like there's that, you know, there's a lot of people talking about privilege and things like that, but, you know, it's only how hard you're prepared to work to get it done. Like, I always think back to rugby league, and there's a player who was incredible that I played with, and he just made the decision that he didn't want to go play NRL and do all that sort of stuff. But one of his closest mates was not the greatest footballer, but he put the fucking work in and had a huge NRL career.
Yeah.
And for me, I've always been like, all right, well, if you choose to put the work in, you can always
100%.
get it done.
Exactly.
But a lot of us are limited by, once again, cultural conditioning that, you know, I haven't made a rep team, so therefore I can't play NRL or whatever, rather than going, well, I'm just still committed to the goal. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to network. I'm going to work my ass off. I'm going to go to training early. I'm going to leave later, do all of those sorts of things, which is an interesting concept. But for yourself, like, you know, what was sort of that significant, well, it doesn't even have to be significant, I guess, an event in your life that forced you to really look at yourself? I know there was a relationship breakdown, the finishing of uni and all that sort of stuff, but, you know.
It's probably definitely, there was like a little relationship I had, like, I guess it was a little relationship, but one of those ones that's like, it's the early stages kind of thing. And I just got to the point where I got cold feet and that kind of stuff and just like completely bailed. But then my actions, like the way I handled it, the way I like went about it and all that kind of stuff was really kind of hurtful and things like that. Yep. And it was actually this girl that was like, you know, this is not how you treat people. Like, you shouldn't be treating people like this, and, you know, you've got to, you know, be better. Yeah. And I was like, shit, I should definitely be better.
Mate, fair play to you for being comfortable to listen to that, because most, you know, there was probably a period in my life where I would have been like, fuck off, like, I don't want to hear it, I can just moved on. But the fact that you actually listened is incredible, because there's a lot of people who, one, would have responded how I would and just continued on life, carrying on treating people in a way that's not really respectable.
Yeah, I guess like the reason I was able to do that was like I was brought up in a very good family and that kind of stuff. My family were really great with like teaching me morals and values and all that kind of stuff. And when she was saying these things, I realized I'd gone against my own morals and against my own values, and that was the real kick in the guts. Like,
why do you feel you did that?
As in go against it?
Yeah.
It was just like I was in that time of my life when like all these things were going wrong, and I was like, well, doing the right thing hasn't got me anywhere. Like that was my perception at the time, and so I was like, well, it doesn't fucking matter. Like at the time I was like, I ended up becoming like a full-time stoner. I was getting drunk every weekend. I was acting up, all this kind of stuff, and I was just the complete opposite of the person I want to be.
It's interesting how I won't generalize here, but I know a lot of men react when life's not going well. So we don't respond, we react, and it's generally through playing up, becoming a stoner maybe, or recreational drug use, or drinking a lot and partying a lot, because it's an easy way to avoid what's in front of us.
Exactly.
It's escapism.
Yeah, there was a lot of you know, previous experiences and things like that led to me being rather like insomniac and really high anxiety and really pretty bad depression and things like that.
Yep.
So it was just a whole bunch of combination of these things, and that final straw, that girl telling me, this is not right. That was like the straw that broke the camel's back, and I realized, like, shit, this is not where I want to be in life.
So when you were feeling depressed and anxious, were you still avoiding what was in front of you, do you feel? Or what? Talk us through that experience. So how, I know there's a lot of people that can probably relate to what you just said then, and some of them are proactively working to improve themselves and better that, but then there's people who are using that as a reason why they can't change. So for you, how did you manage to shift to that?
I think the biggest thing was I always went into things being like the victim. I was like, the world's against me, everything's against me, like poor me all the time. And having that mindset just kept getting me like down and more down. Like down this like emotional spiral. And where like it got to the point where I needed like weed and stuff to be able to just calm down and just settle down and just not have all those thoughts and all those emotions going through me. And then obviously that's definitely not where I wanted to be. So
you're slowing your mind down with
just distractions from where I was currently at. I was like, well, like I felt like I was the victim of this and a victim of that and a victim of this, and because of that, no matter what I do, it's not going to make better. So I may as well just try and cope with what I've got. And my coping mechanism was like recreational drugs and partying and girls and all that kind of stuff. And it was just like, it was an experience, but it's not something that I'm like super proud of or anything like that at all.
I find it very interesting, not like knowing what I know now and how, I spend a lot of time through meditation and then visualization reflecting on where I was at, because I really want to understand my mind, because I think it's probably similar to yours. But the reason why, obviously when life's not going well and I didn't want to look at myself, I went, right, well, this is another way for me to cry out for help, because it isn't healthy behavior. Recreational drug use, drinking lots of alcohol, continually playing up, like that's most people know that that's not healthy. So for me, I was almost using it as a cry out for help. Hopefully someone notices that I'm fucking doing a lot of dumb stuff, and it maybe goes against what some people thought of me prior, and they'll go, Lockie's not okay.
Once again, though, it was like, it's like that victim mindset. It was like, oh, I'm doing these things and I am the way I am because of something else. It was always because of something else. It's like, I am acting this way because of alcohol. I'm acting this way because of weed. I'm acting this way because of, my ex broke up with me, or I'm acting this way, like always like have an excuse for something. And then it was that final thing where I was like, no, this is actually on me. These are my actions now. They're not just hurting myself, but they're hurting those around me. And I've got to take ownership of those actions, and I've got to take ownership of, this is not right, and it's not the weed's fault. It's not the alcohol's fault. It's my fault. Yeah. And I've got to fucking do something about it.
Did you find that hard to do?
To me, it was emotional enough to be like, it was like cracking the whip. It was just like, that was as I said, the straw that broke the camel's back. It was the one thing that pushed me over the edge. I was like, wow, I've really fucked up. And like, this is not down to anyone's fault but my own. And therefore I'm the only one that can fix that. And I'm going to need help to fix that. So that, the first step I did was, reach out to my doctor, and, he referred me over to a psychologist. I was seeing a psychologist for probably about 9 months last year or something like that. And then, then slowly progressed from psychologist to pretty much a life coach. And then, it went from there.
Sometimes for me, it was like I just had to look myself in the mirror and go, you're being a fucking complete prick. Like,
it's owning it.
Yeah. And now let's look forward to changing it. And one thing I get caught on, and we'll circle back around to where we are, is I try to, I think these open conversations and understanding why I feel I acted in a certain way and you feel you acted in a certain way, I always get stuck sometimes thinking that, am I just trying to justify my actions? Exactly. And I feel it really challenging, because I hurt a lot of people as well. And for me to then come out and say things like, I did this because, and it's like, well, I'm not trying to justify my actions, but I think if I can share, and as with you sharing as well, people might be able to go, maybe that's why I'm being a prick at this point in time. And hopefully we can create a positive ripple effect where it's not about the justifying our behavior, because what's done is done. It's help to go putting our hand up to go, look, I'm prepared to use my experiences and how I acted and what I thought about it to better empower men who are going through similar things.
Exactly, and like that's like, in terms of my own goals and where I want to take my future and things like that, like in a very similar path. But I want to be able to educate. So I'm currently studying master's education, and I want to be able to take it to schools and be like, all right, well, this is how to be emotionally intelligent. This is how to stick to your values and your morals by actually acknowledging what they are, and then being able to sit down and be like, I've gone against my own morals and stuff like that. So if I can find a way of bringing that kind of education to more mainstream schools, like they're slowly bringing that kind of stuff in, but it's something that I want to try and boost up a bit.
It's cool to see how quickly you have turned your life around, like, and now what you're just talking about there. Like, I think sometimes it can be, change can take a while. Like, I think learning new skills and stuff, but making a decision for the quality of your life can be instantaneous, as you have done. And you're not where you want to get to, but you've got a very clear and certain vision around what that looks like. And I think that's one of the most powerful things. And so for those who are listening, and you may be able to relate a lot to Jesse's story, and you might have the depression, you might have the loneliness, you might maybe not be in a career that's as fulfilling, or you just got out of a relationship and have had to have a hard look at yourself. You can make the decision to change right now.
Exactly.
It's not necessarily always easy to work through. It can be confronting and everything like that, but as Jesse's done, that creating that solid vision for yourself is empowering, because I imagine saying that out loud feels fucking good, as opposed to saying what maybe you said to yourself 12 months ago.
Yeah, and I think in terms of like my mental health and everything, once I had that purpose and I had that vision in my mind of this is what I want to achieve, that all of a sudden, like, I had just had so much more oomph in life, like, and then it kicked into like my work drive and all this kind of stuff. Like everything stemmed from knowing, like, having purpose and being intentful with what I was doing.
Yep.
And like actually heading in the right direction. Like all of 2019, or the start of 2019, because all this shit happened, I was just like, like all my plans are just going to dumps anyway. There's no point making any plans.
Yeah.
And then obviously one thing led to another, and I was down a rabbit hole with depression and stuff. And then it wasn't until I found, something to work towards and something. So the first thing to work towards was myself, and work on myself, and, get myself to a point where, like they say on the planes, like, put your own mask on first before you put someone else's on. Yeah. Fix yourself first, and then you can use that to help those around you. Because otherwise, and it's the same for like the whole self-love stuff. Like, you love yourself first, and then
100%.
you can love those around you proper. Like, actually,
100%.
Actually love them.
How did you find, obviously putting yourself first to go, righto, I need help, and I don't have the right tools and I guess strategies or even people around me to help me get through that point. What was it like to go, fuck, I need help, let's go see my doctor? Was there any stigma around it for you, or?
I like from a relatively young age, I've always thought of, if you need help, like I always saw myself as like the friend that was giving advice and all that kind of shit. And dated girls with depression and things like that. And so like from a young age, I like learnt like, what are the right ways? Because at that time I was completely, like, in terms of emotional, I was completely fine. Like I mean, I had pretty bad anxiety, but in terms of like depression, I was I was loving life and everything at school. So I was trying to help those around me as much as I could. And I think that's what kind of removed that stigma, because I was trying to remove that stigma, like even when I was at school and stuff. And then, so then, experiencing certain things that were causing, like, that led to depression. The first thing I was like, take your own advice and go and get help if you need it, and go and do this. And so, like, to me, it wasn't, there was no real stigma in my own head around going to a psychologist. If anything, I was like it should be normalized 110%. And that's the mindset I had around it. And so really the biggest thing for me was the money investment for paying for a psychologist. Like, it was like $170 a week or something like that. Like, it's definitely not cheap, but it was to me, it was like, because I'd gone so far against my values and against my morals, that it was worth the investment. Like, I was like, nah, this is 100% worth my investment because this is who I am and who I want to be known as. I don't want to be known as that dickhead stoner that gets, drunk and sleeps with lots of girls and all this kind of stuff. Like, I don't want to be known as that. I want to be known as someone that's, empowering those around him and, helping those people around him and being a good role model and things like that. So
it's funny when you hit rock bottom, and then once again, rock bottom is unique to us as individuals, so don't assume you have to, Jesse's story is rock bottom for you, because it's all relative, but then you're prepared to throw whatever money at it to change it, whereas prior, when people go, maybe you should get help, or maybe you even think I should invest in this or invest in that, it's like, nah, too much money.
Yeah.
And money, then, going back to that victim mindset, we allow these things, probably why we need to do it, become the reason why I can't afford that.
Exactly.
And so you actually, can't afford not to do that.
Exactly.
In my opinion, like, knowing what I know now, and, we have podcasts like this, we have books, we have Are You Okay? All these mental health and mental awareness campaigns going on. I tell you, the stigma around mental health is, it's less than it was fucking 10 years ago.
Less, yeah.
Yep. People are still struggling with it. There's more people than ever. The numbers are still going up. The statistics are still going up. So something's missing. Right? And I think what is missing, is the education and the implementation.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, it's easy to know. You could Google anything right now. I could Google how to make $1 million, and there's probably a step-by-step plan to do that. But would I follow through to it? Well, there's a whole range of things that would have to happen, like my environment, my education, my skill sets, the opportunities. The same goes for our mental well-being. We there's so many things that we can do, and you touched on it before, or we started touching on it, but you weren't looking after your health. You were drinking more. So, like, thinking about health, let's look at sleep, let's look at nutrition, let's look at exercise, let's look at breath work, even like this sun exposure, like all these things that people are neglecting because we're just going, right, well, one, we maybe don't know what to do, which is completely okay. But once again, Uncle Google is a good place to start. And if you're listening to this podcast, also a great place to start.
Already on the journey.
But it's thinking about, okay, if I were to, and we've got a lifestyle report card which thinks about this. So even some simple takeaways would be, okay, how would I rate my quality of sleep right now?
Yeah.
Is it broken? Am I waking up feeling tired? If that's the case, then maybe that's the first place to start for you. And it might be going, okay, well, why do I feel I'm not sleeping through? Is my brain racing? Am I feeling aches? Is the room too hot? What is it? Start, going back to what Jesse said before, take ownership. Ask yourself more questions and come up with answers. You're creating a map for what the fuck's going on in your world, not what's going on in Jesse and I's world, because we're sitting here. It's got to be unique to you as an individual.
Exactly.
And questions and answers are the fucking duck's nuts for that.
Exactly. Like, there's no like set structure of, where to go or how to do it or anything like that. Like, you can't, like, as you said, you can Google to, how to get rich and shit like that, but you can't Google, what's going on in your own mind. Like, you've got to sit down and figure that out.
And it's scary, man.
Yeah. But once you, like, actually invest, like, it doesn't even have to be money. You sit down and write stuff down on paper and you can get your mind out and it allows you to go through and process what's going on and be able to, like, put it into a logical list.
Yep.
And be like, okay, well, the way you started that list, exactly, like, my sleep was really, really poor. So the way, like, because I had insomnia and, like, my brain was going nuts. And so the first thing I thought, how do I improve my sleep? I'll just start smoking weed. Like, that's a sedative and all that kind of stuff. It'll knock me out. And then it got to the point where I was, like, doing that really, really regularly. And it was because I was like, wow, this is, like, great. I'm falling asleep and I'm sleeping for, like, 10 hours. And I wake up in the morning and I was still dead tired. And then, like, throughout the day, like, lockdown hit and all this kind of stuff. So that was, like, another contribution. Like, I lost all structure and all that kind of stuff. Wasn't able to go to the gym. And then, so, like, I just started smoking through the day as well. And then I was like, wow, this is, like, removing my emotions as well. This thing's amazing. And then it wasn't until down the track when, started mixing it with socializing and, like, there's a reason it's legalized in certain countries and that kind of stuff because it has its merit. But it's when it's abused and stuff like that, that's where it's like
anything.
So it got to the point where I was abusing it, and that's where it got real dangerous. Like, if you it was like treating the symptom without treating the cause. I was treating the symptom. I was treating my sleep, treating my emotions, treating my thoughts, but I wasn't treating the actual cause of any of those. And that's where seeing a psychologist was the treatment for all of those.
Yeah, you think about those things. If you're abusing yourself, you think if you had a child or even a partner or your parents even, like, would you make them drink as much as you're currently drinking? Would you make them smoke what you're currently smoking? Would you put the fucking pills in your mouth that you're currently putting in?
Mental.
Most of us would go, fuck no.
Exactly.
But we're okay with doing it for ourselves.
And would we say the things to other people that we say to ourselves? That's another one.
100%.
Like that self-talk, like I was like, you're a disappointment, like you finished uni and you don't even have a job yet, like you're a disappointment to your family, you're a terrible lover, a terrible boyfriend because your girlfriend dumped you, like she left you for someone else, like all this different stuff. And it was just like all of that self-talk was just adding on top and just burying me under. And it wasn't until like, the psychologist was like, all right, well, what's your self-talk? Like, what do you do during this? Like, when you're sleeping, like, are you getting cranky at yourself because you can't sleep? And then all of a sudden you're getting, mad at yourself for doing this and doing that. And all of a sudden you're in this really negative headspace. And then one thing leads to another. And then you're, trying to numb that, or you're trying to silence it completely. And like, that's like like you want to try and eradicate that as much as you can in a healthy manner.
Yeah. That's the thing, the healthy manner. And because as we've touched on, there's a unhealthy way and a healthy way. And unfortunately, the unhealthy way is it. That's why,
fast food.
Unhealthy, if you do that consistently,
extremely enjoyable sometimes.
and fast, man. Like, it's quick, it's instantaneous almost. Like Uber Eats is the fucking amazing thing that we might fall in the trap of. It's you think about it, it's more expensive, such with taking the shortcuts in trying to quiet your mind with recreational drugs, alcohol, or any form of addiction. It's instantaneous, but it is costly. It's costing you to move forward because you're going to wake up tomorrow feeling worse because you've fucking stuffed yourself full of poison, essentially.
Literally,
and then you've still got the same problems in front of you the next day. And it's like, well, now I'm less equipped to fucking deal with it. This is not ideal.
Exactly, yeah. So, it's like everything in moderation, I believe. Like, that's the concept I go with now. Like, I'm not going to say I'm a saint. Like, I still get on the piss and still enjoy.
Mate, I saw you out. Were you out last night?
Yeah, that was an acoustic gig though. That was chill as. That was one beer, maybe two or three. But
that's a school night, man. Come on.
Yeah, but they reorganised. I was meant to be on a Friday night, and because of COVID, they reorganised.
Oh, really?
Put it on a Thursday, and I was just like, it like finished at midnight, and I was like, you got to be joking. I got work in the morning.
Oh yeah.
And I was actually like, I felt like a cranky old man. Like I was like, nah, I was hating it so much. Enjoyed the gig, but I was hating it so much because I like my sleep now.
How are you feeling now? Are you tired?
I had a good nap at work. We jumped into the sleep pod over at Function Well and slept for like 2 hours.
Yeah. people don't even think about that. Like, going and doing something like that. Like, some people do that every night. They'll go for a few beers 7 nights a week, and you don't understand the biomarkers of like drinking alcohol. Your heart rate's elevated, your sleep quality's not as switched on. And, if you're a high achiever, if you're working long hours, that takes its toll.
100%.
It's like driving a car with, might be a terrible analogy, but we'll crack it. Driving a car with bald tires is eventually going to have some issues, wear and tear and fuel economy and stuff like that on your vehicle. So it's the same with the human body. We're a vehicle, and if you treat it better and internally and externally, like, it's going to run smoother.
Exactly, 100%. Like, that was one thing that like, joining the Man That Can. That's exactly what it was like, going in for a service. Like, I was going in and I was because I joined the Strong Man of Value, so I was going in and my training completely changed. I was training like 5 days a week, and in a healthy manner, like over at Function Well, like they have the focus on like restoration and stuff, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. So like really, really knuckled down on my physical health and stuff like that, and then because I was like focused on my physical health, I was even more focused on my like what I was putting into my body and things like that, and so like I would say like still early days of Man That Can, I was like still partying way too much. And
I remember seeing your Whoop score.
Oh, bro.
You're like, and then you messaged me after, you're like, I had a big night. I'm like, I could tell.
And I'd rock up to training and I'd like be puking and no good. But then I just, started focusing a lot more on what I was putting into my body and things like that. And then like through the different workshops and like the weekly call on the Men That Can and that kind of stuff, allowing me to highlight what I need to work on in life, not just physical and mental health, but also, you know, I was looking at like, what am I going to do with my business? And so, or like, what am I going to do with the career? And so like, that was one of the biggest questions I came into the Men That Can with, is the career, because I was so lost with what I was going to do. I started up like I was working at a hospital as a cook, and I was all through uni. And that was only on weekends. And then during the week, because I couldn't think of anything else to do, I realized I could make some money making furniture, because I really enjoy doing woodwork and that kind of stuff. So I was building furniture and that kind of stuff, and it was enough to, you know, pay bills and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But they got to the point where I was like, it was a hobby and I really enjoyed it. But then once I had like strict timelines and all this kind of stuff, it was just, I was like, fuck this. This is not fun anymore. Like, I'm not enjoying it. And then so that's why I just completely stepped back from that. And then actually it was like one day I was at Function Well training, and it was the manager came up and was like, "Oh, Jesse, I heard through the grapevine that you're a qualified trainer." I was like, "Oh yeah, kinda." And he's like, "Do you want a job as a group instructor?" And my background's in karate and stuff, and so I've been a group instructor for, you know, since I was like 15. So I was like, "Yeah, that's great. Like, I used to do this for free, so get paid for it. Hell yeah." And so yeah, like that's where I started working at Function Well, and that kind of stuff, and then progressing along there, working on more things in career, like, you know, having an idea of, you know, where I want to take my career now that I've gone into this new branch where I used to talk so much shit about PTs. Hey, like studying exercise science and exercise physiology, like literally used to be like, oh, this degree is just like a glorified PT, like this is pointless and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, but then like we would talk so much shit about PTs because they only got like a 6-week course or whatever it is. But then like coming to Function Well and like meeting you and all the other boys and even some of the ladies there, it's just like there's actually some good PTs out there. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, and that goes back to that whole status thing, and 100%. It doesn't always matter about the qualifications and stuff, because if you just do it just to get the qual and then think you're a fucking Hercules, as opposed to some people who just absolutely froth on what they're learning and continue to learn and upskill. Like, I think about how many trainers there must be out there that don't, you know, you and I went away to a workshop over the weekend to continue to upskill so we can improve our services and our businesses and stuff like that. And there's people that just don't do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? I wouldn't want to be coached by you. If you're not inspired to improve your own quality of life, then...
actually met me. I was like, fuck you.
Yeah, no. Fuck yeah.
No,
I'm out here. It's done.
No, I part of me wishes that I got into this kind of stuff a lot earlier, because, like, you know, I was doing it through high school. I was a karate instructor all through high school. I was trying to do like as much coaching as I could, like with school and stuff. And then I came out of school and I was like, oh, I'm going to be a physio, which is just like one-on-one. And I was like, oh, this is kind of like, I went really against like my passion, or I'm going to say it's like my, like the path I was meant to be on. Like I always thought I'd be like, you know, working with kids and I'll be working like in a health setting. And then I was like, no, I'm going to be a physio. And I was like still in a health setting, but it like wasn't anywhere near aligned what I had envisioned when I was at school. And then it's actually really interesting, like, you know, going down, like changing path, all of a sudden I'm straight back onto that path of working with kids in a health setting. And I'm just like, wow, this is really, it's kind of cool that life just like nudged me back onto the path that I was meant to be on. And I wouldn't be on this path if I was still in the relationship that I was in, if I ended up going to America, I wouldn't be in this path. If I ended up, you know, all these different things that happen, all the shit stuff that happened in life, like if those things didn't happen, then I wouldn't be on this path that I'm on now, where I'm like super passionate, like I'm fucking loving life. And, you know, I'm working like really long days, but it doesn't feel like work because I'm so passionate about it. I really enjoy it and thoroughly enjoy it. And like the passionate side of owning your own business and stuff like that, like it's like how hard you work is shown in your bank account. It's rather than like, you know, my other job when I was working at the hospital, it was like every person in that room got the same pay, and you know, I would absolutely bust my guts and there would be another person next to me that was, you know, sleeping on the job and that kind of stuff. And like just it was so demeaning and just like so unfulfilling and that kind of stuff. Whereas now it's like how hard I work is exactly how much I'm getting paid. And so like I'm stoked with where I'm at now. Like I've never had this much money in my life. I'm like, what do I do?
It's crazy, hey, though, but you're right there. It's like the value you give to others, you'll be rewarded, whether it's financially or it might be the opportunity to go for coffee with people that you want to learn from, or however it goes, but the value comes back. And I remember when I was earning, whatever I was earning as a chippy, like $22 an hour, and I was like, righto, for me to earn $2,000 a week, I got to work a lot of hours, like a fucking lot.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're limited by that, and your body can't keep up, or if you go out on the piss, like it makes it a very tough time rather than going, righto, well, how can I actually just add more value to people and increase my wage? Like it's a completely different mindset. And within that mindset is like, right, well, the one thing I can control here is me. And I need to be better. I need to take more responsibility. I need to maybe learn sales, marketing, more about whatever it is that I enjoy learning about, because that's what puts me ahead of the pack.
Yeah. And that's what's going to be really, really helpful is doing something that you're actually going to enjoy, right? So being a cook, like I enjoyed it, but it was, it's not something that I was really like, it didn't fulfill me.
Waking up every day going, yes.
Yeah, I'm going to cook some fucking eggs. Yeah, look.
Like, I'm happy to eat eggs, but I don't want to cook them.
Yeah, no, and when you're cooking like 100 at a time, like it's just like, it was really, just not fulfilling at all. Whereas now, like I am more than happy to put in the hours and put in the drive and the work and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like intrinsically motivated to do really, really well. It's not the money that's making me motivated for this job. It's the intrinsic motivation of, being fulfilled, helping others, doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And, you say add value and that kind of stuff. And like, often I'll go over time with clients and things like that just because I'm like, I'm enjoying myself. Because once they walk out the door there, I'm going by myself again. I'm like,
I'm alone, man.
So really, really important that like, whatever you're working towards, that you're actually passionate about it and you're not just motivated by the money. Even like looking at being a physio and stuff, I was motivated by the money because like everyone's telling me like, oh, you can earn
most people are,
like over $100,000 a year working as a physio, like, it's, and like, people who are passionate about that and passionate about that area, 100% go for it and you'll do really, really well. But if you're not passionate about the area, you're not going to do well. Like, it's pretty much,
you'll be resentful.
If I was overworking in a mine doing, I don't know, some rock work or something, I don't know, doing something that's completely away from my passions, then I would hate life. I would hate my job, even though if they were paying me like $200,000 a year. Like I'll still hate it because it's not my passion.
That's what, and going back to how you're not where you want to be. None of us are. Like it's not really about that. But you've created a clear and certain direction for the quality of your life, and a lot of people don't think about that. It's, as you were saying, it's I want this much money because this is what we've been led to believe is success. It gives us status. It provides a lifestyle, but we don't really think that, let's use the mining industry, for example. I could never, and this is nothing, for some people it works well, for me it wouldn't personally, because I don't want to do fly in, fly out. It doesn't suit my quality of life. And the reason why I've been self-employed for 7 years now is because I've always wanted choice, I've always wanted flexibility, and I've always wanted to be happy with what I'm doing. And I'm prepared to fucking ride the roller coaster of business, because some months it's fucking awesome, other months you're like, man, I don't know if I can keep doing this.
Especially when you first start out.
Oh, yeah.
Like if I didn't have that passion there for the job I have now, like this last 2 months, like I've only been doing private coaching where I am like really in charge of my income. I've only been doing it for 2 months now, and those 2 months in terms of income were absolute hell. Like I had no money. Like I was digging into all my savings. I was, doing this kind of stuff. But then like even though I had all these like expenses and stuff, I still was like passionate about going all the way down to Sydney and joining this seminar and all that kind of stuff. And that was a massive investment, considering that was like 50% of what I had in the bank account. Yeah. Right. But now it's like that's added value to what I can do. Good. And I'm like, it's increasing my value that I can offer to my clients and all this kind of stuff. And now I'm getting paid way more than I ever thought I would. And like, I had to push through those shit times. I had to push through the no income days. Because otherwise, like, if I didn't have that drive there to continue going, I would have burnt out super early and been like, fuck this, I'm going back to my cook job. Yeah. Well,
if you keep being defined by time, by income, by just resourcefulness in fucking general, nothing is going to change. You may ride ebbs and flows where you have more savings and you don't, but you're never going to be truly in control. There's people who go, I don't have time to do this. I don't have time. It's bullshit. Yeah, like you're just not disciplined with your time, and you're doing too many things that don't add value or you don't necessarily enjoy doing. So fuck them off.
And like people will find themselves in jobs they absolutely hate, and like, you know, they've been in that job for like 10 years or so, and like it comes down to that passion again, like me being passionate about my job and that kind of stuff, and being willing to invest my money to progress. Like, you know, if you're in a shit job, you're not going to have that drive to want to keep moving forward, and then it's just like you're stuck. You get really, really stuck.
Yeah.
Whereas like now it's like, you know, you find that place where you do have that passion, and even if the money is shit, you're still willing to work towards getting better. Like even if like the hours I'm not getting paid for and stuff at work, like I know deep down that's progressing where I'm going, and even if it wasn't to go back into my bank account, it's gonna go into the feeding the passion that I have for the clients and for the people I interact with.
And the longer you leave it, the harder it gets in terms of creating change, because some of us get into debt, right? We maybe get a mortgage, you may start a family, and then there's another few reasons why you can't leave that job or you can't invest in this, because like I've got to feed a family, I've got to pay my mortgage, and it's like fair play, they may be real, but like that's why for me, and I think you're on a similar path, like as a young person, I was just like, if I'm not happy, see ya, learn a skill, what do I need to learn, or what am I potentially interested in that's going to help me move forward? Like people get to a point, unfortunately, where they think they're better than doing certain things. Like their ego gets over. I know, you know, I went back to fucking working like Uber drive. Like I've done all these things like glassing and stuff when I'm a 25-year-old bloke, when I should have finished uni and I should have had this, that, and the other. But I'm like, I don't care, because I'm not defined by that. And I've managed to go miles ahead of everywhere else, but I ate shit when I needed to. I feel like Gary Vee saying that because he always says that. But like I wasn't defined by what I was doing. It was just a means to an end to help me progress to where I wanted to. I wasn't stuck in some role that I hated because I needed to pay my wages. I was like, right, I can learn a skill from this. I can learn a skill from this. I can learn a skill from this. And even when I started my business, I had no money.
Yeah.
I just worked my ass off. I was prepared to put in the work that people aren't.
Exactly. And like, I was going to say something. What was I going to say?
Don't you just love it when your
hate
thoughts
that.
just go?
It was really, really good too.
I bet it would have been probably the title of this podcast, I reckon.
Fuck. Anyway.
It'll pop.
It'll come back.
It'll absolutely pop up like a bubble in a bath, mate. It will be back. Don't you worry about that. But ultimately, you know, when we look at the direction for ourselves and the path that you've been on, he's back on. He's giving me the nod. Go, take it away.
Yeah. So it's like the mindset of like trying to reach a destination or being on a journey, and it's like that was something that I just to put a bit of analogy, I did Everest Base Camp in 2018, and it was just like one of those things. It was like it was like my bucket list item, and I was like, I'm going to start working my bucket list now. Like, why wait until retirement? And I'm going to start doing it now. And so I went and did Everest Base Camp, and the entire way I was like, can't wait to get there. And I was like, you know, rushing through these walks and, you know, rushing in front of everyone else and trying to get to the next location and all this kind of stuff. And then I finally get to Everest Base Camp, and it was the biggest fucking letdown because Everest Base Camp is fucking ugly. It is so ugly. It is just rocks. Yep. And like, I think a week prior, there was a landslide that destroyed like the actual base camp. So we had this little rock that had a little flag on it saying Everest Base Camp 2018. And that was all we had. Like it was like nothing of what I expect. My expecting of that destination was meant to be this glorious, amazing thing standing at the foot of a mountain and like, you know, this great achievement. And I got right to the end and I was like, oh, this is shit. And then that was what made me realize, like, all the entire journey up there was not about getting to that end point. It was about actually doing the journey and, you know, doing the hard yards walking, but then also taking in all the fucking beautiful things along the way. Like, I realized, like, looking back at the footage that I was recording and that kind of stuff, just on like time lapses and stuff, I was like looking out over these massive, massive mountains, like walking through the Himalayas and like these massive trains of yaks and stuff, and like looking down and seeing a helicopter fly past, like looking down at a helicopter. Yeah, that's like wild. That's how high up. Like all these amazing views that I didn't absorb and didn't take in simply because I had my eyes on just the destination of where I was going. Yeah, you missed life. And so that's where it comes down to like relating that to career and stuff. If you just have a destination of, I'm going to do fly in, fly out of, or if we keep using this as it's a shit idea, but like say you got a goal for a certain career. As I don't know, let's say a teacher, right? Then you become a teacher, and then you're like, okay, I made it, and then you just chill out as a teacher for the rest of your life. And you know, some people that's, you know, fine, but like if you really want to do well, you've got to like see that as like you're on the path of continuing to progress, and like you always want to do extra things to add value to that, so you can continue progressing along that journey. You don't just get to a destination. Like to me, there's no end point. Like
if
you
you're
just
still
keep
telling
working
the same jokes that you were telling 10 years ago, fuck me, mate. Like, put the work in.
Like every time it's the same as like in the gym and stuff. Like you set a goal to achieve in the next 6 to 8 weeks or whatever it is, like a short-term goal. And at the end of that 6 weeks, you set another goal and you work towards that, and you just keep doing those.
Why we do the 12-week game plan, man? Like
exactly,
it's long enough that you can start creating some momentum and then seeing some growth, or it's also the perfect amount of time to go, that's not working for me. I need to change it.
Yeah, like so we've done 3 12-week game plans now, and my first one was like I fucking threw it in the bin after 2 weeks or something like that, and realized that my mindset at the time was I was looking at the wrong areas and things like that, and tried it again, and was probably got about 6 weeks into the second one, and then threw that one in the bin, and then third one I came along and I finished that one, and I think I've done a fourth one now, and I've just come to the end of it, and it's just like I've achieved everything that's on that list, and like I'm absolutely fucking stoked with it, and it took 4 times sitting down and writing goals, and then scrambling up and throwing it in the bin 4 times to get to a point where I could actually fulfill that entire journey, I guess you could call. Got to my destination now. I've got a new journey, and it's just like keep setting your target higher and higher and higher. Like when I first started, it was to actually read a book, like to read a page of a book.
You've got a healthy bookcase starting.
Yeah, mate. It's really growing, and like well, I mean, when I first spoke to you, I was like, I don't read books, mate. I don't fucking read books. And like that was the mindset I had. Even like the mindset towards like, I remember having a chat with you, and I was like, nah, not going to buy a house. It's a stupid investment or all this kind of stuff. And now I'm like putting money away for a house, and like all this stuff that was like, no, my money is better off in my bank account. And but by progressing and learning and going along that journey, like your mindset changes, and therefore your goals are going to change, your intentions are going to change. And it's just being able to like take in that change and accept that change, and be open to it. Like it's completely like, as we said at the start, like, change is good, and you like should be embracing it. And like you're not gonna like completely flip overnight, but we should be expecting change in life, and we should be able to, like, by expecting it, we're able to handle it a lot better and progress a lot better.
We should definitely always challenge our beliefs. Even if we're not seeking change, challenge what you currently believe. Yeah. It's like if I didn't challenge what I believed about myself 7 years ago, 8 years ago, I wouldn't be where I am. Exactly. And even what I believe to be true right now, like the content that I'm putting out, how I'm running my business, although it's working well now and it feels right, I still got to challenge, why do I still believe this, or why do I think this is the best option? Why is this my, I was the same about property. I was the same about so many things, but if you even this podcast, like it started with me just as a diary essentially, and then I started doing guests, and I went back to a diary, and now it's guests, and there's different formats because I just keep challenging what I think is best serving the audience and what is most fulfilling and rewarding to me. And if I don't do that, I'll just keep doing the same shit.
Exactly.
People get stale. Exactly.
And I think that's like, I'm going to keep referring back to the education system, because that's where like I want to be taking my stuff. And like I'm going to say the education system is extremely stale. Like, you look at classrooms from 100 years ago, and they're exactly the same as classrooms today. And it's like, why are they still like that? Like, that's an example of, staleness, and, how much has the world changed in 100 years?
Well, the fact that you're still reading To Kill a Fucking Mockingbird.
Yeah, mate.
What the fuck is that?
I don't even remember that book.
I hated that book.
Like, Barefoot Investor or Rich Dad Poor Dad, or all these other books that are actually like extremely, extremely valuable in terms of life skills, or even like the Way of the Peaceful Warrior and things like that. Like, it's a bit more of a story, but like I took something from it, and that's going to stick with me. The lesson I learned from that is going to stick with me for the rest of my life. What did I learn from Shakespeare? Fucking, this guy doesn't know how to spell, because we don't use that language anymore.
And that's the thing is, like, there's so many societal challenges that we're faced with at the moment, that maybe if we encourage people to improve self-awareness through reading books that, are based, I always go back to the 8 areas, but based around that, like, we're going to be more self-aware that maybe how we think, act, and behave isn't appropriate, isn't kind, isn't progressive. But because we're still reading shit from such a long time ago that doesn't even make sense and most people aren't interested in, then we're just going to carry on in that same mindset that our the environment that we've grown up in gives us.
Exactly. And like, if their goal is to teach literacy and, the progression of literacy or whatever it is in English, whatever the goal of English is, it's like you can still read books. Like you can still read really highly valuable books and you can still break it down in your classes and write analysis of it. Like, the Way of the Peaceful Warrior, it's like lines up with being, it's a novel, but there's so many life lessons you can take from it. And it's like those kind of things add so much value, or have the potential to add so much value. Like, I don't know about you, but I definitely didn't get value from the Kill a Mockingbird. I don't even think I read it. I didn't even fucking read it.
I just Googled
a synopsis.
Yeah. Because I was like, there's no fucking way I'm reading that.
No, and exactly. And it's just like, by making it I'm speaking for myself here, but if it was something practical, I was all for learning it. I was 100%. Like, when it came to, I did physics because I loved how it related to life and, to be able to understand life and that kind of stuff. Whereas, things like, I keep referring to English, but I hate English so much. But yeah, it just wasn't, to me, it wasn't practical. Like, especially like nowadays, most of the communication is verbal. Like, whether you're talking on the phone, whether you're talking through podcasts, or
it's a lot of it. Yeah,
you don't have to write on paper. Like, in terms of like, whether I use past or past, like whether it's PASSED or PAST, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yep.
Whereas, and so it's like, obviously we still want to value literacy. That's really, really important.
Yep.
But like the amount of other value, like the other things we can learn through school that they're not teaching, and it's just like, that sets people up to be far more successful in life than learning how to do logarithms and shit like that.
Yeah. That's where, once again, taking ownership. If you, like, I never understood money, I never understood emotional intelligence, and I still am not fucking guru at it, but it's stuff that I spend, reading articles on it, studies on it, or even books on it every single day, because I want to understand it. I want to get better, and you're constantly being proven wrong. And that's the cool thing. It's not that, fuck, I should have never said that. It's like, well, I did say that, and now I've been proven wrong. Thank you. Next.
Exactly. And I can't say I've reached out for a maths book to better understand Pythagoras' theorem or something like if I was learning more of these life skills, more of the, like, the 8 areas and stuff when I was at school, then, you
might need all the algebra and stuff for when you're building a mansion with all the money.
Fucking exactly.
I want to ask you one last question, because we'll wrap it up here, but what's your definition of being a man?
I knew this one was coming because I listened to all your podcasts. And I should have prepared, but I didn't. I guess, like,
that's better.
The value, like, wait, what was the question again?
What is your definition
of being a man? So, to me, definition of being a man is, well, keeping yourself accountable for the shit that you're doing, like whether that's good shit or bad shit. You need to be aware of what you're doing, and if you are aware of what you're doing, you're going to be a better person. You're going to be a better man. But then just the classic of, protecting and taking care of those around you and things like that. Like, I feel like that's something that's ingrained into society, but I don't want to get rid of that. I reckon it's a good little
100%
good thing to be.
100%, I agree. And where can people find you? Obviously, you're in All Out, the Inner Circle program and everything like that, and all over the Man That Can project. But where can they find you personally?
So Instagram is JD Sully, so JDSULLIE. And then my business with the PTing is the JD Academy. And yeah, that's all of my socials right there.
That's all you need, and he will have an email list soon.
Yes, email list, and hopefully you see my face a lot more with the Man That Can and that kind of stuff, and see where we can take the Man That Can in the future. And yeah,
it's been inspiring. I've taken away so much from that, and I look forward to listening to it again and getting it out to people. So thanks for your time.
Cheers, bro.